Toyota in the secondary market is loved because it does not break down. And they do not like it because it does not get cheaper. But since nothing has become cheaper in our country lately, the ability not to break comes to the fore. There is only one question: is it really so? And is it true that Toyota is loved for this? Let's see what owners say about their Camry 1550 on the internet. Maybe all these beliefs are just a myth. Or maybe not. History of technology. The Camry in the 1550 body is formally the fifth generation of the Camry, but if you count by the bodies, among which there are not only the 15 series, but also the V series, then by the 1550 this car has already managed to try on 7 bodies, and the 1550 became the 8th. In addition, the numerous names of body modifications such as Solara, Coupe, Avalon, Wyndham, or Gracia also interfere with understanding the Japanese nomenclature. Therefore, let me skip the history of the entire glorious Camry family, which began back in 1982, and let me go straight to the 1550 body. So, the start of production of the Camry 1550 began in 2011. The previous generation 1540 in Russia was a great success, which at the initial stage significantly influenced the popularity of the next generation. Moreover, technically the cars were quite close. The good old Ising U241 4-speed gearbox was paired with the same old 2-liter 1AZ FE engine, which was not only on the previous 1540, but also on the even older 1530, and only with more new engines with a volume of 2.5 liters, 2 AR FE, 181 horsepower, and 3.5 liters, 2 GR FE, 249 horsepower in the Russian market, appeared at that time a modern 6-speed Ising U660/U760. In a word, lovers of Japanese classics could not but appreciate such a car. But the design of this generation has become more strict. If many looked at the interior of the 1540 with surprise and did not understand how such a combination of shapes and colors could be allowed, then the Camry 1550 became much more restrained, stricter, and more serious. At the same time, the Camry remained a spacious and solid car, which was appreciated in Russia no less than in America, where Toyota had high hopes for this car. True, other configurations were offered to the Americans. For example, in the US, you could buy a hybrid 1550 with an electric motor and a 2.5-liter 2AR FXE. In addition, overseas, the 2GR FE engine produced 268 horsepower. They did not try to meet the pre-tax 249 horsepower there. In Japan, Camry 1550s were only hybrids, but we officially didn't have hybrids, and our people could only buy pure gasoline cars from the dealer. The layout of this generation is traditional. The engine is located across, the drive is only front, simple McPherson struts. There is nothing out of the ordinary, which is good. Since November 2011, the 1550 began to be produced in Russia at a plant in Cheshire. True, the 2 most expensive top versions were not made by us, but were brought from Japan. In 2014 and 2017, the 1550 underwent restyling, and after the second it became known as the 1555. Well, in 2018 it was replaced by a new generation of Camry. So what else was the 1550 good for? And what was wrong with her? Let's read the opinions of the owners. Hate number 5, soundproofing arches. All owners note a very quiet interior and the absence of engine noise in it. True, some pretentious comrades who move to Camry from expensive Germans do not refrain from comments like noise isolation, to put it mildly, is not very good. Compared to the gelding, it simply isn't there. However, there are very few such reviews, and most are satisfied with almost everything. But it is very annoying that the noise of the wheels becomes very clearly audible on the road. The advice, of course, is not very diverse. You can hear the road at speeds above 100. I can hear the sound on my winter Dunlop, so choose the right tires. I will add that those who at one time, when buying a new car, did not spare money in a car dealership for normal wheel arch liners, suffer from road noise much less often. Love number 5, liquidity. Here, too, everything is simple. Camry, like any other Toyota, is not only in no hurry to lose price in the secondary market, but is also in high demand. You can always sell it easily, quickly, and expensively. There will be only one quote, because all the others would be just as boring and obvious. It loses a little in price. The car is easily sold. Hate number 4, the love of car thieves. The reverse side of high liquidity is a huge demand from criminal guys and officials, but they first steal money, and only then they buy Camry for them. Stealing a Camry is a sacred thing. And then it's easy to sell, and the process itself is outrageously simple. But dealers are only happy about this because they offered both alarms and casco, and all at once. True, many sadly reported, "I won't write about casco, there is space in general." We are talking, of course, about the cost of the policy. More advanced Toyota drivers solved the issue in a more original way. I set myself several different signaling devices, inexpensive and available on the market. It cost me 50,000 rubles. I will open only one. This is a Bag 85. I bought it for 22,000. I set myself alarms, 3 active, i.e. electronic, 1 mechanical, 1 passive, activated when the owner wants. A bunch of alarms is good, but even Toyota's electronics, primitive by the standards of the class, could not always digest the clumsy installation of a large number of these devices, which not only guaranteed peace of mind for the owner, but brought headaches from dead batteries and car electrical glitches. However, this is still better than looking out the window 3 times a night and wondering if any bandits have stolen this car yet. There are a lot of protection tips. I highly recommend putting metal protection on the brains and always transfer the standard immobilizer from the rear right wing. These 2 things will seriously complicate the hijacker's business. Casco is definitely simple. I strongly recommend it, otherwise you can be left without a car. With casco without a car, of course, you can also stay, but insurance will heal a broken heart with at least some kind of payment. So it makes sense, especially for the Camry. Love number 4, comfort and ergonomics. Strange, of course, but one trend is clearly visible in the reviews of the Camry. Drivers are almost indifferent to it. Well, somehow it rides. With a 3.5-liter engine, it is even capable of accelerating. Everything seems to be convenient. In general, it will do, but it will not cause delight. Another thing is the rear seats. Almost everyone loves them. They write about it a lot and with obvious pleasure. All seats are heated, perforated leather, but not ventilated. Behind is the control unit for music, air conditioning, rear window blind, seat back tilt. On long trips, more than 1,000 kilometers, especially with children, I went to Crimea twice. It's quite nice. There is a lot of space inside. The wife, sitting in the back with a child, still can't get used to the fact that there is no cardan tubercle that was in Tina. There is noticeably more space in the back. The backrests of the rear seats are electrically adjustable for tilt, which is very comfortable. In rich trim levels, the rear is even more interesting. The rear armrest is equipped with a climate control function, 2 seat heaters, adjustable seat backs, and an audio system. All this is for the rear passengers. There is really more space for them. I will only make a small remark. In the top, where there is an adjustment of the backs of the sofa, this back cannot be folded back to transport bulky goods. Although something narrow, but long, you can transport, there is a hatch for this. Well, for the sake of justice, I'll still give this quote. The organization of the driver's seat is especially pleasing. Very convenient location of the armrests, an inflatable pillow in the lower back, a steering column with memory, automatic retraction when the engine is turned off. So everything is in order with the comfort of the Camry, although, of course, it falls far short of the Mercedes E-Class. Yes, and about the finishing materials, some are also indignant. They say, even in the previous 1540, the interior was more enduring. Hate number 3, dynamics and AKP. The dynamics of cars with younger engines upsets all Camry owners. No matter what it's called. And a bucket for pensioners, and an 80-year-old grandfather, and in every other way, which is not said aloud in a decent society. Only a small part of Toyota drivers who consciously chose the 1550 with a 2-liter engine and an old gearbox, exclusively in favor of reliability, are ready to accept the fact that their car does not set speed records. The rest just roll their eyes at the point to the sky. You won't get drive, passion, and good incendiary skating on it. Camry with a 3.5-liter engine is another matter. In addition to good power, there is also a more modern box, a 6-speed, after all. Here are just a lot of people dissatisfied with this box. It turned out to be very thoughtful, and even the 3.5-liter Camry did not become a sports car. Although, of course, its 210 km/h on the highway goes well. True, some say that it is serviceable, but not for long. And not because the box is difficult to digest the engine torque, but because of the wild temperament of the drivers of such cars. There are also many complaints about the logic of this automatic transmission. Usually their essence boils down to the following: it is reliable, good, but you press the pedal to the floor. There is a pause for 1.5 seconds, then only a shot. When kicked down, the box slows down, but I'm already used to it and press the gas a little in advance. In general, she thinks for a long time. Those who drive calmly are happy with 3.5-liter cars. Some are satisfied with cars with weaker engines, but there are very few such phlegmatic people on the internet. Love number 3, patency and clearance. Honestly, I did not expect that so many 1550 owners would praise the patency of their car. Permeability, of course, is in quotation marks. It's better not to leave the road on it, but for the city it's enough. They usually write like this: the clearance is sufficient so as not to cling to the bumps of the Moscow region with the bottom. Her clearance is the highest in the class, 160 millimeters. If someone clings to curbs, then they usually do it with a front bumper skirt. It's funny that those who switch to Camry from some rear-wheel drive W211 very often spit, but they say that it has become much easier to drive in winter. A Japanese car does not get stuck like a German one. True, the anti-buck system does not work so well for her, but somehow this fact does not significantly change the picture. Hate number 2, LKP. There is nothing to talk about for a long time. The paintwork layer is both fragile and thin. Hoods suffer most of all, which repaint almost everything and often under warranty. There are chips on the edges of the roof, but the hood gets a lot more. Let's give the floor to the owners. In the first winter, I found a swelling on the hood near the chrome molding. The car has no year. I went to the dealers, they said they would paint the hood. What are you? I say, let's locally clean and paint with a transition. No, it's not allowed. I said I'll think about it. I came home, climbed into the forums, and there. Every second one. And another minus, the hood has peeled off, and the bodybuilders say, it's not good to drive 200 plus, the pebbles are whipped in accordance with the speed. Sometimes they write that the paint can be scratched not only by outerwear, but also by the breeze from this very clothing. And not only on the hood, but anywhere, a piece of paint immediately flew off on the trunk lid. We conclude, the repainted hood of the 1550 is not a sign of an accident, but a consequence of an offensive feature of the car. Well, if you do not want to repaint the hood again, it makes sense to cover it with a film. And better, and the front fenders too. Love number 2, for those who like to save money. Let's give one quote, and then reveal its deep meaning: a car for those who can count a pretty penny, taking into account unscheduled visits to services, minimal loss of money during the sale, as well as liquidity on the secondary market. In fact, everything is said correctly. From an economic point of view, the 1550 is an almost ideal car. First, it does not require money for repairs. If you follow him well, he will not break. This is a fact. Only the AKP6 with the most powerful engine is in the risk zone, but even there it usually dies only among riders. So you don't have to constantly spend money on Camry repairs. Secondly, routine maintenance here is much cheaper than that of competitors represented by the Germans, respected by many, including me. And due to the fact that the Camry is technically very simple, there is no need to constantly go to the dealer. Any competent mechanic can handle the service and will not even charge a lot of money for it. Thirdly, I repeat once again, this car is getting cheaper slowly, and it is in great demand. So if anything, it can be quickly and profitably sold. I think there is nothing more to say. Practical people love Camry for a reason. She has one drawback: if you press on the gas pedal, the flow rate is quite significant. With a 3.5-liter engine in the city, it is quite possible to burn up to 20 liters per 100 kilometers, but if you do not build yourself out as an athlete racer, then the consumption will be within the normal range by the standards of this class. Hate number 1, handling. And here, alas, everything is bad. Literally in 3 quotes, the whole essence of Camry is stated: there is no handling. The car is rowdy, the car scours when overtaking, the steering wheel must be held like a bridle of a zealous horse, unpleasant and undignified, does not go. Do not relizia. Don't slow down. Alas. It is especially disappointing that it is difficult not only to disperse it, but also to drive later at high speed and stop at the end of the journey. If you like aggressive driving and polished handling, then the Camry is not for you. Love number 1, reliability. Well, I agree. Drag the first prize for banality. I am ready to accept it with gratitude. But is it possible to put something else in the first place in the ranking of reasons to love Camry if everyone writes something like this? 285,000, 2012. I only changed pads and oil. Toyota Camry mockingly refuses to break down, oil still doesn't eat a drop, the suspension doesn't knock. There are no crickets in the cabin. If I didn't do everything that I do with it and on it, I would never believe that you can drive so cheerfully without a single breakdown of 100,000 kilometers on our roads. Regarding the last comment, many wrote that, they say, 100,000 is not an indicator, they and Grant will pass. It is, of course, true, but the previous owner called 285,000 a little higher, and some owners consider a burned-out dip beam bulb to be a serious breakdown. I will say more. One of my friends drives a 2015 Camry. And he once asked me, will something ever break in her at all? Despite running well over 200,000, the car never let him down. But he had to repaint the hood, that's a fact. However, my friend is a practical person, and the car suits him completely. Especially if he manages to disperse it and even overtake someone.